The City of Waterloo, in cooperation with its many active and inspiring entities, presents Heart for the City, a chance to hear and see what's going on in our city and to meet people who serve you, teach you, entertain you, help you, all neighbors and like you. Make this a city on the move. And now, here's our host, the Honorable Quentin Hart.
Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us on Heart for the City. I'm Quentin Hart, proud Mayor of Waterloo. As the decade closes and a new decade is before us, let me take a moment to reflect. We are a city that accepts people for who they are, all backgrounds and cultures, all faiths. And our message is clear that everyone is welcome. Waterloo is known for its diverse population and is recognized as a destination rich in heritage and history, and the last decade was one of unprecedented regeneration, growth, and opportunity, and in the next decade, a continued renaissance is assuredly in the offing. So try to repeat that again. Look, but we have a great show in store for you, so without further delay, let's get to it. We will discover the rich trove of information provided by Experience Waterloo on all that is happening in our city, and we will get an inside glimpse of highly esteemed Waterloo Cedar Falls Symphony. And finally, we will have a chance to hear reflections on one council person's experience after 12 years of public service. So stay with us.
If we properly empty, clean, and dry our recyclables before placing them into the container, we're taking a simple step towards being a better recycler. Even small amounts of liquid and food waste can contaminate an entire bundle of recyclables. Give your recycling container the smell test. If it has an odor, it likely has contamination. Be sure that recyclables are empty, clean, and dry before you place them into your recycling container. If we follow this simple step, we can make a big difference in our homes, our communities, and our world. Learn more on how to become a better recycler at recyclingsimplified.com.
Some may ask, what is there to do in Waterloo? And to them I say we have arts and culture, museums, sports, shopping, parks, recreation, a great mayor, hotels, beds and breakfast, campgrounds, nightlife, a great mayor, and a large diversity of dining. Wow. Where can we find information on all these possibilities, and how can we get our arms around all that is available? Here with us with an answer to every question we'll possibly ever have about the city of Waterloo is none other than Tavis Hall, Executive Director of Experience Waterloo. So welcome back to the show, Tavis.
Thank you, appreciate it.
All right, and I know everything in there you absolutely agree with.
Especially the great mayor part, right?
Well, you know, that's bad when you have to try to give your own self a pat on the back. So I'm still working on me. So.
There you go, there you go.
But Tavis, we had, it's been an incredible year. And every single day, our city's improving for the better, and we know that there's been incredible progress. But tell us some of the major milestones that have occurred in the last year, starting with the launch of Experience Waterloo.
Sure. So we were previously Waterloo Convention and Visitors Bureau, had been around for over 20 years, but we were really looking to have start a new, fresh year. So towards the end of 2018, we launched Experience Waterloo, really got into the full brand launch. We launched 2 new web series, Join Our Table, which is currently running, as well as We Are Waterloo, which is a summer series. That We Are Waterloo series talks about individuals who help tell an amazing story about an amazing community. Join Our Table is sort of the other side of that. It's dining, right? Everybody, whether you're a resident or a visitor, is going to spend time in restaurants, and so it's a great part for us to be able to really jump in, help tell that story, and that's what we're really looking to do more, is be a little bit more informative about all that's going on locally, not just for visitors, but for residents to help reinstill some of those pride points.
And over a year ago, the board of directors updated your mission statement, which is simply enhance and promote the Waterloo experience. But how does that influence the broader view of tourism?
Sure. Well, it allows us to sort of pivot, right? Of course, our focus is to get folks to come into town. But by having that enhance and promote the Waterloo experience mission statement, our board is constantly able to reflect back, and we're constantly trying to figure out how do we help create 68,000 ambassadors to bring their friends and family into Waterloo. We knew through the rebrand, over 70% of those that were traveling to Waterloo were doing so because of friends and family. So that to us says that it's already a strong market. We've already got strong allies throughout the community, but we needed to do a better job of tooling those folks with information, with publications, with different points that could help inspire travel.
So you said 70,000 ambassadors, right? Not
70,000. Yeah,
okay,
that's right.
68.
That's right.
But we know that convention and visitors bureaus are transitioning to becoming DMOs, which is destination marketing organizations. And according to reports, you're looking into a new kind of DMO as well. So what is the difference, and what are some of the goals related?
Sure. So, traditionally the CVBs have really focused on bringing conventions, and of course that's still sort of the underlying strength of our organization. But we've morphed a bit. So as some CVBs are becoming DMOs, or destination marketing organizations, talking about some of the great things that are happening, it's our goal to help be a little bit more integral into making those things happen. So whether it's the Lost Island theme park, helping try to figure out how to make all those great facets work together. It's not just enough to talk about the great stuff happening, but if we can be a part of that process even earlier on, I think we'll ultimately all be better off for it.
And an incredible way to showcase is the new travel guide you've just created. Can you tell us about that?
That's right. So we've got one right here. It's a 100-page publication. It's actually produced by both us and Cedar Falls, so it's a great joint venture. We've done it. That's some impressive modeling. We've done this publication for about 20 years now as two separate entities combining. We've received state recognition for collaborative tourism marketing because of that publication. This is our first year of taking this process completely in-house. We've had other folks assist us in the past, but we're really excited about this new, very dynamic publication. It helps tell a story about a really cool community.
And we know there's been a lot of success in tourism in Waterloo, but what does 2020 look like for us?
There's a lot of great stuff on the horizon, obviously. The big one for us in Waterloo is the sale of the Ramada, the former Ramada site, which will be a new awesome dual branded property. The improvements coming to the convention center. Lost Island is celebrating their 20th year, and so there's really great stuff happening that we're just excited to be a part of. Hopefully, we'll have RAGBRAI, we've put in a pretty large bid and pretty competitive bid to host that event in 2020. So we're excited about everything that's on the horizon.
All right. And so much has occurred, though. If you take a look over 1 year or 2 years, you see Waterloo, you got single speed, you got sidecar, you got Grand Cross, you have the Wrestling Museum, we have some of the developments that you named a little bit earlier, and we see an explosion of business starting to gravitate not just to our industrial parks in those areas, but also to downtown. What do you characterize as some of the reasoning?
Well, tourism is a big part of that. When we bring folks into our community to spend dollars, we don't always think of it as an economic driver. Tourism, folks think, well, it's just Iowa, right? Well, in fact, tourism is $386 million of economic impact just in the Cedar Valley alone, supports 3,000 jobs. So we do a great job of, as an industry, promoting our destination. And we couldn't do that without some of our amazing partners, whether it's the Birch family and some of their huge investments into our community, the small businesses that help tell very interesting stories. When we had our We Are Waterloo series, we featured Morg's Diner, and within a month it had over 250,000 views online.
Wow.
So folks love Morg's as much as they love the pancakes. There's something about that place, and there's something about Waterloo.
Right, and as we wrap up over the next minute or so, really quickly, there's a $100 million development taking place by the owners of Birch. Can you tell us what that is and what type of impact you think that'll have?
Absolutely. So the theme park is opening here in a couple of years, and we're really excited for that pairing out on the south part of town to have the theme park next to the water park that's already one of the top water parks in the country.
In the world.
That's right. So to have that in our own backyard, $6 million of economic impact just from food and beverage, $4 million in lodging, $5 million in retail, over $30 million of total economic impact per year just from the addition of that theme park. So it's really going to be awesome for the community.
In addition to the full-time and part-time job opportunities that will be created. And you'll definitely have to come back because there are some other changes on the horizon that are coming to our community. But I want to thank you personally, Tavis, for taking time out to tell us all about the great service experience Waterloo provides to its citizens. If you, your group, or family is planning an event, there is over 20 different and unique venues for any event or activity you have in mind. Tours of all types can be scheduled, group-friendly accommodations are available, and there are award-winning attractions and reunion event spaces. There's not enough time to list on this show everything Waterloo has to offer, so contact Experience Waterloo to start enjoying, participating, and planning your personal or group activities. So get going and experience Waterloo. The Waterloo Cedar Falls Symphony was founded in 1929 by G.T. Bennett, director of the East Waterloo High School Orchestra, and Ralph Pronk, director of Waterloo West High School Orchestra, among others. And it was originally named the Waterloo Symphony Orchestra. And the first concert was held at East High School, which I graduated from. It doesn't say that. I mean, the first concert was held at East High School Thursday, February 6, 1930, with Mr. Bennett as conductor sharing the honor with Mr. Pronk. Has anything changed after 91 years? It surely has, but now the answer's after this.
Getting healthy has never been easier with a membership at Cedar Valley Sportsplex. Offering 80 free classes a week at all skill levels, there's always new and fun opportunities to grow. You never have to miss out on your favorites with our state-of-the-art facilities, featuring great exercise equipment, a track and field, pool, and 2 regulation gyms. So whether your game is football or pickleball, let the Cedar Valley Sportsplex turn your routine into something amazing.
Welcome back to Heart for the City. Maestro is the name for a master, especially eminent composer, conductor, or teacher of music. They may be hard to find, but we have 2 with us now. Rich Frevert, Executive Director of the Waterloo Cedar Falls Symphony, and Jason Weinberger, the Pauline Barrett Artistic Director and Conductor. So welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Well, Rich, you're no stranger, and Jason, you're no stranger either to Waterloo. So would you both tell me a little bit about your educational background, if you went to UNI, or where you've been at, and your experiences with the symphony and your position with the orchestra?
You want to go ahead and start, Rich?
Sure. Well, I went to UNI and met my wife there back in the late 1970s, and my first job actually out of school was actually with the Waterloo Cedar Falls Symphony. And so we moved away and came back 30 years later. And so I have a background in with a music degree and also MBA from UNI.
All right.
And I grew up in Southern California, went to the East Coast for college, and then got lucky to find the spot for myself directly in the middle, exactly in between. So when the orchestra was looking for a conductor, this is about 17 years ago now. Actually, somebody I worked with was connected to the community here, and the orchestra had asked him to assist in finding some conductors, and he said, listen, I've got this great community for you. Probably don't know much about it, Waterloo, Cedar Falls. Come take a look, audition for the orchestra, and the rest, as they say, is history. So that's how I wound up in this area, and that's when my association with the Waterloo Cedar Falls Symphony began.
And when you said you may not know much about Waterloo Cedar Falls, you said, yes, I do, because there's an Experience Waterloo segment on this show, and I was able to look at their tourism site. And I know it now, anyway.
Well, you guys are making sure that happens now.
But Rich, you've worked with several symphonies outside the state of Iowa, and how do they compare to the Waterloo Cedar Falls Symphony?
Well, I think I worked in Springfield, Massachusetts, just about an hour west of Boston with the Springfield Symphony. Worked with the Lincoln Symphony in Lincoln, Nebraska. And also I was pretty involved in the music community in the Twin Cities, which is where we moved from before we were here. Of those orchestras, probably the Lincoln Symphony was the closest match to what we have here in Waterloo. We did about the same number of concerts. University Town also had a fairly new performing arts center that had their own series, like we do with Gallagher Bluedorn here. So very, very similar situation. Nice community, nice smaller community as compared to the Twin Cities. But it's been really great to be back here, and I still know quite a few people from the last time I was here working with the symphony and going to school, and so it's made the transition, pretty easy to come back and get resettled into the community.
Well, Rich, also, pretend Jason isn't here right now. And so any story, any story that you have to tell us how you met, please feel free to tell us that story.
Well, it's we didn't meet in a dark alley or anything, but at the time, this is like 5 or 6 years ago, I was running an artist booking agency in the Twin Cities, and one of the artists that I was representing, Margarita Golovko, actually won the UNI International Piano Competition that year and a chance to perform with the orchestra. And so that's when Jason and I met, and I don't know, we had lunch one day while she was here and hit it off pretty well, and so I think it probably there's a little kernel in both of our minds that we might like to work together at some point.
And faith interacted and the meeting happened.
Yeah.
And Jason, we know over the course of time, music somewhat has changed and musical taste, but can you tell us a little bit about how music taste and performance has changed in the 21st century?
It really has changed. I mean, we know the effect of the internet, of course, has totally upended the music industry as a whole, not just what classical musicians do, but especially for us, we found that the traditional type of orchestra performance, that's something that has been around with us now for, we're talking a century or more, and we've really worked to kind of incorporate everything that's great about that into an experience that also speaks to a modern audience. So you might come to a concert and see a screen involved somehow in the concert, and we've done a lot of different things with screens, from the soundtrack to a feature film, that we play live, all the way to, real creative, dramatic things that we create. And also, I think too, anybody who comes to hear us play, they can expect me to turn around, say a few words to the audience. Sometimes the musicians will explain what they're doing. We try to make sure that it's approachable. We want people to feel that the symphony is accessible.
Right.
Maybe in the past, folks might have felt it was inaccessible to them. I think in the 21st century, accessibility is one of our biggest priorities.
And even with our orchestras, you have to be more than just presenters of classical and pop concerts, but what else do we have to be?
Well, I think we have to be always listening to the community and hearing about their tastes, what kinds of things they like to do, be it jazz or whether it be rock and roll or it be hip hop, and just really be open to possibilities, because there are so many different ways that we as an organization can work with other local groups, other local artists, to really benefit the community, in addition to bringing music that our audience wants to hear.
And so in order to have a successful orchestra, you have to be able to listen to the audience and be able to adapt to some of those changing areas. And Waterloo and Cedar Falls, you would say that we've done a very good job with that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Well, you better. I mean,
yeah,
I didn't think about that question.
No, there are so many, and I've been impressed since I came back. This is a much different community than it was 30 years ago.
Right.
And there are so many more offerings, be it through Gallagher Bluedorn or the United School of Music or the music scene in Waterloo, with a lot of jazz artists and popular artists here that are making a go of it. And some of the really well-known artists on the national scene have also come from Waterloo. So it's a really rich tapestry of music.
And and it's always making sure that we're accessible and open to the next generation of performers. And I know, Jason, you have a policy of introducing new composers to the symphony. And how do you select some of them in this 45 seconds we have left?
Yeah, absolutely. Featuring new voices, I think, is just an essential part of what we do, and we have done the gamut. So we've had music that's been composed right here by young artists in the community or by other artists who are working here that Rich mentioned. Those types of collaborations, all the way up to composers I knew in school who are now nationally well known. What we look for, again, is music that's exciting and accessible, that people can take with them and say, hey, that had some meaning. And I think that's a new way now for introducing new music. Maybe in the past it was more esoteric, and now we really want to make sure it has an impact and that people can relate to what we're doing.
And I have to have you give a shout out to Quentin Jr., who you're an accomplished clarinetier.
Yes.
And my son is too. So if you can tell Quentin to keep on playing.
I will just keep it up out there. You're headed in the right direction, and got me to where I am. And so I
sitting
think
here with me.
I think that's it. Yeah, look, I'm on TV with your dad, so keep up the clarinet. Do it.
Practice.
Exactly.
And Rich, really quickly, goals for 2020.
We want to continue doing outreach in the community, working with organizations. We work with Youth Art Team. We work with some of the choruses in town, and we've done some things with the City of Waterloo. You were our distinguished guest conductor last summer for the July 4th concert.
Yep.
And it's just really important that we be really wonderful and cooperative citizens of the community, not only in the music area, but across the spectrum.
And just from your comments about working with youth, and Jason, knowing that you work with youth as well, I want to thank you so much for investing in them. But you're going to have to come back, because we need to also hear about passion for baseball and favorite teams.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So before we even get to that question, to the next time, I just have to see if it's the right team or not. So if it's not, we won't even have that question next time.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm a big Twins fan. So
Ooh, oh my
have
goodness.
been since I was a kid.
This could get controversial.
I think I got a Cubs tattooed on my right arm and the Yankees on my left arm.
Oh.
And the Waterloo Bucks. Hey, Waterloo Bucks in the house. But Rich and Jason, thank you for taking time to be with us on Heart for the City. We have only scratched the surface of what makes this symphony one of the best, and it is made up of incredible musicians and directors. The Symphony is the resident ensemble at the Gallagher Bluedorn Performing Arts Center in Cedar Falls. And in addition to offering up 6 performances a year at the Gallagher Bluedorn, they offer sets of concerts at Waterloo's Brown Derby, Ballroom, and the River Loop Amphitheater. Additional performances and special events take place at the Cedar Falls Oster Regent Theater, Waterloo's Elks Lodge, private homes, and other unique venues throughout the region. So go to www.wcfsymphony.org for information, schedules, and ticket purchases. Warning, attending the symphony's performances can be addicting. All right. In this city, we have a strong mayor and council form of government. What does a council person do? Generally, they act as the legislative branch of the city government as well as its policy-making body. The council also looks to city goals, major projects, and infrastructure improvements ranging from community growth to land use to finances and strategic planning. And they do all this in just one meeting each week, right? No, there is much more to do on this job, and as you will find out after this. Steve was dedicated to his position, and that is honorable. So I want to thank you on behalf of the citizens of Waterloo. I want to thank you for your dedication and your service to this office. I want to thank you for showing up when other people didn't show up and making sure that people know that you represented them over the course of the last 12 years. So this reads, presented to Steve Schmitt, thank you for your dedication and years of service to the city of Waterloo.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just kind of to follow up on Councilman Jacobs, I'd like to thank the Lord, our Father, my family, all the folks that I've gotten to work with over the last several years, and especially the citizens and taxpayers of Waterloo, because that's who I ran for office to represent, and I tried to do that there during that period of time. I do think that, over the last 12 years, we have accomplished much, still have many things to accomplish, but you and I have agreed on a lot more than we've disagreed on. And I do think that I and all of us up here and all of us out there have in our hearts what's best for Waterloo. We just maybe don't necessarily agree on how to get there. But we do have the good of Waterloo and her citizens at heart. And so, again, I'd just like to thank everybody for the opportunity to represent them over the last 12 years. And absolutely my prayers and best wishes are with new Councilman Bozen and Greider and all the rest of the council and department heads, and just keep on keeping on.
Welcome back. The ability to listen respectfully and weigh differing opinions, a determination to look at what's best for the community than what's best for special interests, the willingness to devote a lot of time are all important traits of a good city council member. And in 2007, Steve Schmitt was elected to council for the first time, beginning his term in 2008. He has served in the capacity faithfully for the last 12 years. And with us to talk about his experience is Steve Schmitt. And I see you quite often, but this is the first time for you to be a guest on Heart for the City, so welcome.
Thank you very much.
And so people know about you being on council, and you have another group of people out there that you work with pretty closely. So can you tell us about some of your other activities, not including your work?
Well, I'm blessed to have many children, and so I've spent a lot of my time over the last 20, 30 years coaching my kids and other people's kids, having that opportunity, and then also I've spent quite a bit of time mentoring in the schools. I've had that pleasure of doing that for 20 plus years, and then I've also been lucky enough to serve on a couple different boards and commissions, so somehow or other I seem to keep busy and keep out of my wife's way.
Right.
Yeah.
And when we talk about, you hear the different wards, because there's 5 wards and there's 2 at-large positions. But can you tell us the difference between those?
Well, the way that Waterloo is set up, there's 5 separate wards, so the city's divided up, and there's a council person that represents that geographic area and that certain number of voters. And then Sharon Juon currently and I were the 2 at-large council members. And so we were able to represent the entire city. So rather than just a certain area of the city, we got to represent the entire city. So from a neighborhood association standpoint and some of those other things that are specific to certain areas of town, we got to represent them all. So it was that much more of an opportunity, really.
And you got to raise more money.
Yeah, and put out more yard signs, and yep,
all
exactly.
across the area. But and professionally, you've been in telecommunications for a number of years.
Yes, sure.
So can you tell us how that has had an impact on the way that you approach the city council?
Well, I think several different things. Number one, coming from the private sector, my goal was to see if we couldn't add some more, maybe a little bit business-centric practices to city government. And then also the technology changes that we've seen in my business over the last 20 or 30 years, and the 12 years that you and I have been in elected office, taking advantages of those kind of opportunities to allow us to be more efficient and more productive for the taxpayers and the citizens of Waterloo. So really 2 or 3 different opportunities there to take advantage of.
Yeah, speaking of that, remember the 75 to 100-page packets we used to receive every Friday for a Monday's meeting. And during your time on the council, there's been a number of different achievements. Do you want to talk about any of them in particular?
Well, you know, when you and I first came on, if you remember, in 2008, that was the second go-around of the LS Power discovery or discussion. And, you know, that was the proposed largest single private investment in the history of Blackhawk County. Never came to fruition, and in hindsight, probably a good thing with the way the coal industry turned out. But, you know, starting with that, and then, of course, the floods of 2008 were a real challenge for all of us. But from an accomplishment standpoint, I mean, certainly the Sportsplex and TechWorks and a number of those things that have come more from local government rather than other venues. But I think just city working with the private sector to promote and develop Waterloo as best we could over the last 10 or 12 years.
Right, and there's and what people also don't know, there's a lot of city boards and commissions that council members are asked to be a part of. Can you talk about some of those you've been involved with?
Well, luckily enough, you and former Mayor Clark and former Mayor Hurley kind of encouraged us to move around from boards and commissions, so I had an opportunity to serve on just about all of them. But most recently I was on Leisure Services, which is a board that obviously is involved in a lot of different things at city level, and planning and zoning and community development, some of those to give a council person, I think, a better perspective of some of the different things that do go on at city level, but also being able to get to work with a variety of different citizens and get a variety of different perspectives on different things, which I think is real important.
Right. And your service has also been recognized by the mayor's volunteer awards and the governor's volunteer awards. Can you tell us in what area of service did you receive some of those?
Well, it was really a couple different things, and they were about 10 years apart. But, you know, I know recently you had the opportunity to interview the Symphony board director. And I was on that board when we hired him 15, 17 years ago. But it was a combination really of the variety of different boards I was serving on, and then also the mentoring and the work I did with youth. You and I were on the Boys and Girls Club board together. I was on the Boy Scout board together. So it was really a combination of those things, and primarily involvement with the youth of our community that I ended up getting nominated and was awarded both of those awards, and I was very honored and humbled by that.
And in addition to that service, you've also been a proponent of neighborhood associations. Yes, so how are there benefits to the city with our neighborhood associations?
Well, those I think are the folks that are committed enough to really spend their time and their energy stepping up and doing some of the things that you and I have done. And maybe they just don't want to do it to the point of running for elective office, but they are willing to come to regular scheduled meetings and again, sharing their perspectives and their neighbors' issues and what it is that we at the city can do to maybe solve some of their challenges and make Waterloo a better place for them and their families.
And you mentioned a little bit earlier in the interview about the achievements and successes we've had as a city during your time in office and some of the things that started before and kind of trickled over to us. But there's also challenges that we face. And as a council person, you're able to see some of those things that the community may not be able to see on the horizon. But what are some of the challenges you see that we're facing?
Well, I think, and this is the most recent just from the articles I've read with the valuations and that kind of stuff, I think that once again, we're going to be having a challenging budget. Excuse me, you're going to be having a challenging budget. I'll watch from a distance. But, you know, so much of what the city can or can't do revolves around the budget. And so being able to manage that, given some things that are kind of out of our control at the state level or at other levels, I think is probably going to be the biggest challenge, because so much, whether it's public safety or any of the leisure services offerings for our citizens, revolve around the budget, that if there's not the money there, those things just can't be done. So I think it's that judicious use of those funds.
Right. And do you see any future involvement or city politics? What do you see on the horizon? I had to ask that question.
Yeah. You might ask my wife, but I'd like to think that I certainly still have the energy and the interest, and I'd like to think at some point down the road, and I don't know if it'll be at the city level or some other level or maybe something other than elective office, but I certainly plan on sticking around Waterloo and staying engaged. And I've been approached about joining a couple different boards and commissions since coming off city council, and I'm kind of thinking through those, and we'll see where we go, what door opens. The Lord always gives us opportunities,
Absolutely.
right? Yeah.
All right. So thank you. But, all I can say that it is easy to sit back and to talk about people that are willing to put their lives and family security on the line to voice their opinion and comment on controversial issues. And on the last meeting of 2019, we presented plaques to Councilman Bruce Jacobs and Steve Schmitt for years of service to the community. And Steve and I started on council the same year, and Steve was always a budget hawk. And during our 8 or 9 of the last 10, 12 years, the levy rate was decreased. So I want to thank you for being present at the citizens meeting, even when there was no video or press, but you brought back to our forum the thoughts, ideas, and comments of the citizens you so carefully listened to. And again, thank you for your service, faithful commitment to the office and to the citizens of Waterloo. Much was accomplished during your tenure, and I know more needs to be done, but we sincerely appreciate your personal efforts in making Waterloo a better place to live, work, and play.
Appreciate that.
Thank you. Steve Schmitt has served as a liaison to many city boards and commissions, and he has been a board member or president of organizations including the Boys and Girls Club, Boy Scouts, Downtown Waterloo Rotary Club, Waterloo Cedar Falls Symphony, Birthright, Salvation Army, Big Brothers Big Sisters, Grout Museum, and Sacred Heart Catholic Church. And he's received both the Mayor's Volunteer Award and the Governor's Volunteer Award for mentoring in the Waterloo Community Schools for more than 20 years and coaching Waterloo Leisure Services programs in the Cedar Valley Soccer Association. And Steve and his wife, Jana, have 6 children and 4 grandchildren. So we wish Steve and his family the best in the future. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
There's a place that lies directly between where you've been and where you're going. It's the place in the middle, the place where your past and future connect. Hawkeye Community College is that place, connecting you to great faculty, engaged students, and four-year destinations like the University of Northern Iowa. Every masterpiece starts with a blank canvas, and every success story begins with an empty page. Start writing your story today. Hawkeye Community College. Connect.
Well, that's our show. We have an outstanding reference for entertainment, shopping, eating, sporting events, and other activities.
Yes, that's Experience Waterloo website at experiencewaterloo.com. This website is for visitors and residents alike, anyone in the Cedar Valley. Take a look. There's so much going on.
And keep in mind, Experience Waterloo is a not-for-profit organization that promotes the region as a premier destination, welcoming visitors with a personal touch in order to generate jobs, tax revenues, and thus provide an exceptional quality of life for area residents.
And it's a resource for Waterloo citizens as well as those planning family trips, reunions, events, first-hand information on lodging for your visitors, where to eat, what events are happening, and where to have your events indoors or outside.
And Tavis, remind us about the publications available to the citizens of Waterloo and beyond that can be downloaded from experiencewaterloo.com.
Our website has a visitor's packet that contains a wealth of information for those looking for most everything that exists in our city. So please go ahead and take a look.
And in addition, be sure to check the Main Street website, and that's www.mainstreetwaterloo.org. We have much going on in downtown Waterloo, including an exciting annual events which you won't want to miss, and consider the many opportunities to be a part of Main Street by volunteering. So thank you, Tavis. And to all our viewers, remember to tell others. The Heart for the City episodes are available for viewing on the City of Waterloo, Iowa homepage, and that's cityofwaterlooiowa.com. Search for Heart for the City. Also, be sure to like Heart for the City on Facebook.
Please join us next time, and thanks for watching Heart for the City. Until then, I think you'll agree, it's a great day to be in Waterloo.